Tonight on CFTK-TV News, park rangers and police evicted homeless people from Oppenheimer Park. We discuss a report on property values in Smithers and other northern BC communities, and the Rebel News establishment is likely headed for a legal battle.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Good evening, I'm Cale Maslin, and here's what's making news in the Northwest and beyond it. To begin, some information was recently sent out in regards to what property assessment values looked like in northern BC.
A brand new report released by BC Assessment has shown that the average single home value inside of the town of Smithers has taken a bit of a dip lately. The average single home value in Smithers dropped 1%, or from $497,000 to $490 in terms of money. But even despite that particular decrease, the town still has the highest reported average single-family home value in all of northern BC. The report also mentioned what happened to home values in other places, such as Terrace seeing a 5% decrease from $445,000 to $421,000, while places like New Hazelton saw a big-time increase of 11%, going from $192,000 to $212,000. And Hazelton did see an increase of its own, but it went up only 2%. The report also went on to state that property value assessments throughout all of northern BC in total took a step up from $90.4 to $95.2 billion, with almost 250,000 properties being factored into this report. Anyone who wants to see their property's updated value can do so on BC Assessment's own website. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
Several northern BC farm supply stores have recently been said to have lost a lot of money due to what's been called a sophisticated scam. The main victims were Smithers Feed and Bulkley Valley Home Center, and both lost upwards of thousands of dollars because of a credit card scam. The scam in question was reportedly perpetrated by a woman buying supplies a few months ago, manually using a credit card that was stolen from someone else in the Lower Mainland. This woman is said to be in her 30s or 40s with longer brown hair, a heavier build, and carrying a large purse or backpack while also wearing black-rimmed glasses. The Dawson Creek RCMP are in the midst of seeking out help from the local public in order to find a man currently listed as missing. The man in question this time goes by the name of Cole Robert Hosack, and the last time he was seen was back on December 31st of last year. Hosack has been described as a 24-year-old Caucasian male and is not from Dawson Creek, while also initially being set to go to Edmonton, Alberta for a new job on January 5th. For anyone who may have any information about Hosack's whereabouts, you are asked to call the Dawson Creek RCMP at 250-784-3700. Park rangers backed by Vancouver police officers moved in on Oppenheimer Park, and while people did want them to stop, but dozens of tents and belongings were removed from it. As St. John Alexander reports, advocates questioned the timing of the enforcement.
Well aware they were outnumbered and this probably couldn't be stopped, they tried anyway.
Back away, you're impeding us, please. Back away.
Pleading, sometimes begging, park rangers and the VPD members supporting them.
I see it in your faces you don't want to do this, so don't do it.
Early Tuesday morning, rangers began taking tents apart in Oppenheimer Park. Items of all sorts, including a couch, were loaded up and hauled away.
It's not compliant with the bylaw. There's over 28 tents in this park. Yes. We need compliance.
Once again, the bylaw is being enforced. When there is no adequate shelter, tents can be set up at night, but must be down and gone by day.
People want to keep their structures up because taking them down damages the tents, and it helps protect them during the rain, during the snow, during the cold.
I'm just going to pack it now, then I'm going to figure out what to do next. We don't have any place to go, so we have to figure out, we have to have a shelter.
It's not clear why Tuesday was chosen. Colder weather is moving in. That was plain to see.
No compassion. It's supposed to be down to what, -11 this weekend?
I don't like to be forced. I was forced all my life. This has to stop.
Let them choose which items he needs.
In a statement to CTV News, the park board says park rangers will continue to work with those sheltering in the park daily to reach full compliance, and says it will help those affected find warming shelters. By early afternoon, most of Oppenheimer Park was clear, but only hours after police and park rangers left, tents were being set up once again. St. John Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
Coming up next is a report on Metro Vancouver probably getting some Arctic air. Welcome back. A frigid blast of Arctic air will cause temperatures at Metro Vancouver to plummet later this week, bringing a host of potential problems with it. CTV's Ben Milger has more on that.
So we have 92 beds available in our men's shelter, and these are typically almost always nearly full.
With dangerously low temperatures sweeping into the lower mainland, demand for shelter space will surge. There won't be enough room for everyone who wants to sleep indoors.
The immediate concern is, of course, sickness and death, right? Like, imagine walking outside in the cold. You're wearing minimal clothing. Your things are getting soaked by the rain or snow. You go to sleep, you wake up freezing.
Union Gospel Mission will have its 2 outreach vans on the road to help those who can't or won't go indoors. The City of Vancouver is also opening a number of warming centers with resources for people who can't find shelter space.
Obviously, seating and chairs and everything, hot beverages, snacks are provided. Folks can bring their carts, pets, and a large majority of the sites are also accessible.
Search and rescue volunteers say the cold weather poses additional challenges for those venturing into the mountains. They're encouraging people to be prepared and understand the risks.
We're not saying don't go out and enjoy it, but just maybe be a little less ambitious with how far you want to go or how far you want to push yourself. Stick a little closer to home.
The extreme cold brings potential problems for homeowners too, with plumbers encouraging people to shut off their outdoor water taps or risk the possibility of frozen pipes.
It could result in a pipe that's broken inside of the house, flooding, insurance company may be required to get involved, and yeah, for sure some significant damage.
The first real deep freeze of the season promises a wintry blast beginning overnight Wednesday. Ben Milger, CTV News, Vancouver.
An unimaginable loss was made more gut-wrenching as little answers remain about the death of 21-year-old Aisha Hairia. Her body was found in a parking lot in Surrey over a year ago, and police believe there's foul play. CTV's Abigail Turner reports on the mother's heartbreaking plea for more answers.
21-year-old Aisha Hairia loved animals, fashion, and making jokes. She was planning a trip to Paris with her mother when the unthinkable happened.
My whole world just came shattering down on me that day.
Police were called to this area in Surrey in July of 2022 and found Hairia's body in the parking lot. Now, more than a year later, her mother is making an impassioned plea, asking for anyone who may have answers into her daughter's death.
My family and I were just struggling. We just need answers. We need to know what happened to Aisha and why. Why would somebody do this to her? It just, that's the thing I can't sleep at night. It's just like, why would somebody do this to her? I just don't understand.
The Integrated Homicide Investigation Team was called in 4 months after Hairia's body was found.
What I can say is that cause of death wasn't immediately apparent, and that's what led to the BC Coroner Service continuing their investigation and I becoming deployed later on.
Investigators won't say what exactly was suspicious about her death, and while they have been searching all avenues into who may have killed this young woman, a motive is still unclear. She was last seen in the area of 100th Avenue and Wally Boulevard the day before she died.
We understand her frustration. It's been a year and a half and she doesn't have an answer, and she deserves that answer.
I feel like I've lost my best friend. I have this emptiness in my heart. It's like half my heart is gone.
Witnesses are being asked to come forward, and police say no amount of information is too small in helping to bring justice to the 21-year-old's family and closure to a painful year and a half. Abigail Turner, CTV News, Surrey.
Canada's Rebel News threatened a lawsuit after an altercation between one of its employees and the Deputy Prime Minister's security detail. Here's CTV's Annie Bergeron Oliver.
Ms. Freeland, how come...
The Deputy Prime Minister was on her way to an event in Richmond Hill, Ontario.
Why is your government supporting Islamonasty?
When Rebel News' David Menzies tried to ask a question, she didn't answer. Then Menzies and an RCMP officer make contact.
You're under arrest for assault.
The RCMP telling Menzies repeatedly he's under arrest for assault. That prompts this prolonged interaction.
How am I under arrest? You bumped into me. You pushed into me.
Menzies is then cuffed and put into the back of a police car. He was later released without charge. In a statement, Rebel News says, "We have retained legal counsel and expect to sue the RCMP, York Regional Police, and Freeland as soon as this week for false arrest, false imprisonment, malicious prosecution, and assault." The Deputy Prime Minister's office says they won't comment on matters of Freeland's security, while the RCMP says it's looking into the incident and the actions of all parties.
It was certainly crowding the minister, but certainly not in any way threatening her. And I just thought it was totally unnecessary by the police officer to actually stop and arrest him.
Menzies has been arrested at least 4 times while working for Rebel News, which describes itself as a generally conservative media outlet. In 2019, he was forcibly removed from an Andrew Scheer campaign event. Then again in 2021, following an encounter with Conservative MP Melissa Lantsman.
You're a thug. You're a thug. What are your names?
And in December 2021, there was this incident involving members of the Prime Minister's RCMP detail.
Certainly all the RCMP officers know who Mr. Menzies is as well. So this didn't come as a surprise to anybody. So the debate will be, was it an assault? When the arrest was effected, was it too aggressive?
In a tweet, the Conservative leader said this was an attack on press freedom and linked to a Conservative Party petition calling for support and donations to stop censoring Canadian journalists.
We're going to defund the CBC.
Pierre Poilievre has said he intends to defund the CBC, which employs about 1/3 of the journalistic workforce in Canada. Annie Bergeron-Oliver, CTV News, Ottawa.
Turning to tonight's weather, the North Coast is said to be seeing pretty much all clear conditions, but the low down at -9 degrees. The Terrace-Kitimat area is projected to deal with a few clouds at a low at -13 degrees. And the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District is predicted to be getting some periods of light snow and an ultra-cold low of -34 degrees. On the North Coast, the upcoming week or so of weather begins with sun before moving to potential flurries and/or rain, with the high shifting between -10 and 2 degrees. In the Terrace-Kitimat area, their next week should consist of sun to start as well, then dealing with some clouds and flurries as well, and the high going from -16 to -3 degrees. And in the Bulkley Valley and Lakes District, they are also said to have a bit of sun this next week, as well as snow, flurries, and clouds, after the high bouncing from -25 to -11 degrees. Checking out the highways now, visit Drive BC for the latest and up-to-date conditions, and as always, drive safe out there. On Highway 16, there is slippery sections, utility work and electrical maintenance, and the Usk Ferry is out of service and the cable car is in effect. Highway 35 and 118 have some slippery sections too. Highway 37 has some slippery sections too, while also having shoulder maintenance. 37A also has slippery sections, some more slippery sections on the Nishka Highway, and the Telegraph Creek Road has slippery sections with compact ice. And this is what the roads were looking like this afternoon around the region from the view of the province's highway cams. Still to come is a look at how robberies in Canada are becoming more brazen. Welcome back. Shoplifting isn't new, but a nationwide surge in daytime heists is worrying retailers and authorities. And many of these shocking crimes were caught on camera. Here's CTV's Heather Wright.
At a jewelry store in a mall just north of Toronto, several suspects begin smashing cases on Saturday afternoon. Families flee the food court as the men run out of the store. No arrests have been made. This is just the latest jewelry store robbery in the last few months, with brazen smash and grabs becoming all too common across the country. According to Statistics Canada, rates of shoplifting jumped 31% in 2022 compared to the year before, while the Retail Council of Canada says incidents of theft involving violence have soared 300% over the past 4 years. Criminal defense attorney Ari Goldkind says the punishment for shoplifting in Canada is often too lax, even for repeat offenders.
The message is being sent. The risk is worth taking because as we see, the consequences, whether or not you're arrested at all, seem to be few and far between.
But many retailers have express policies aimed at preventing employees from trying to stop thefts.
For liability issues, they don't want their staff being injured or killed.
Seriously, get out.
In June, Lululemon fired 2 employees for intervening during a theft at one of its stores in Georgia, saying they violated the company's zero-tolerance policy regarding engaging with shoplifters. And while more and more stores are locking up products, Bruce Winder says while shoplifting may be on the rise, it might also appear more rampant than it is.
Most of our life is captured on video, so we're seeing more of these videos go viral.
Thefts are typically covered by insurance, but that cost eventually gets passed along to the consumer, as do the costs associated with locking up products and hiring security guards at stores. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
A strange story out of Toronto's Pearson Airport as a passenger fell out of a plane onto the tarmac after opening a cabin door. CTV's Mike Walker has more.
A passenger boarding an Air Canada plane destined for Dubai Monday evening fell to the tarmac after opening a door on the Boeing 777 while it was boarding at the gate. Air Canada telling CTV News instead of proceeding to their seat, the passenger opened a cabin door on the opposite side of the aircraft. The passenger sustained injuries falling to the tarmac, with emergency services and the authorities attending. Peel police and paramedics responded. The passenger was transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. It's not clear why they opened the plane door. At Pearson Airport today, frequent flyers say the incident is alarming.
The amount that we've traveled, we've never experienced anything like that, so I think you just get to the airport and you hope that nothing like that happens.
Scary, yeah. Like, how would that happen? Doors are available to open like that?
The flight carrying more than 300 people was delayed for nearly 6 hours, but did take off from Pearson around 3 a.m., according to the airline's website. Air Canada stating, "We can confirm all of our approved boarding and cabin operating procedures were followed."
Learning more about a mid-air blowout on an Alaskan Airlines flight, Boeing's CEO acknowledged the company's mistake and now new details from passengers come from on that jet. ABC's Gio Benitez is the latest.
A stark admission from Boeing's CEO after that door plug flew off its Alaska Airlines jet at 16,000 feet.
We're going to approach this, number one, acknowledging our mistake. We are going to approach it with 100% and complete transparency every step of the way.
CEO Dave Calhoun emotional as he addressed employees Tuesday. The company revising its final inspection protocols to the FAA for those 171 grounded MAX 9 jets that have door plugs. The FAA saying they will remain grounded for now and that the safety of the flying public, not speed, will determine the timeline for returning the Boeing 737-9 MAX to service. This as we learn stunning new details about what happened on that Alaska Airlines jet Friday.
I reached over and held his hands, and we literally thought that we were going to die.
Say Soroon and her 12-year-old son Josiah were sitting in the row right behind the door plug when it flew off, taking Josiah's phone and stuffed animal with it.
You would just hear a big boom. It was silent for like 1 second, and then you would just feel and hear a lot of air going around, freezing cold air.
And the mother of the 15-year-old who lost his shirt telling the Seattle Times as the air cabin depressurized, she saw her son's seat being pulled back toward the hole, saying, quote, "I reached over and grabbed his body and pulled him towards me over the armrest. I did not realize until after the flight that his clothing had been torn off of his upper body." She said it sounded like a bomb exploding.
Now to an out-of-this-world display taking form in Los Angeles. The California Science Center plans to lift a space shuttle into launch position for a new exhibit. NBC's Jacob Soberoff reports.
7, 6, 4.
The last time NASA's Endeavour space shuttle was in launch position,
And liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour.
it was on its final mission to space. Now, more than a decade later, Endeavour is about to embark on one last journey, as the California Science Center in Los Angeles prepares to lift the shuttle upright for a first-of-its-kind exhibit that'll be the centerpiece to the museum's new Samuel Ocean Air and Space Center.
So whose crazy idea was it to take it from this position and stand it up as if it's going to be launched?
This is a vision that actually we had 30 years ago. We said the best way to display it would be in launch position.
Not only the best position, but the most technically challenging position to possibly put it into.
Absolutely true.
This won't be the first time Endeavour makes a big move. In 2012, when the shuttle first returned home to California where it was built, Endeavour was flown atop NASA's shuttle carrier aircraft. Endeavour's next mission is even more complex, as the team meticulously stacks the space shuttle system piece by piece.
Oh, wow, this is cool. Look.
The museum's president, Jeffrey Rudolph, let us drop in on the construction project as the team lifted the last piece of the solid rocket boosters into place.
So look at this. The workers are basically going to catch it and then fasten it to the top of the solid rocket booster. I've never seen anything like this.
Before its final lift,
So you can step up here.
Okay.
Project director and NASA veteran Dennis Jenkins let us get an exclusive last look inside Endeavour and crawl into the flight deck.
This is the commander's chair?
Where it's a tight squeeze into the front seat of history.
This is one of the last times that anybody's going to sit in these two chairs.
It is probably the last time.
When this thing goes vertical, what's your hope for it? You know, how it's going to inspire a new generation of potential astronauts, engineers.
Yeah, it's the engineers I care more about than the astronauts. I mean, everybody wants to be an astronaut, but what we need is engineers.
The hope now that the final Endeavour for this shuttle will launch new dreams of space exploration.
And now we turn our attention to the stock markets. The Canadian dollar is up 5/100ths of a cent. The price of gold is down $5.20. Oil is down 87 cents. Natural gas is down 15 cents. Aluminum is up $13. In Toronto, the TSX is up 18.44 points. The Venture Index is up 0.49. In New York, the Dow Jones is up 170.57, and the Nasdaq is up 111.94. Still ahead, we look into the result of the latest Canucks game. Welcome back. The Vancouver Canucks have been in a New York state of mind as of late.
Goaltender Sorokin, Canucks steal the puck back, Pettersson across, and they play a give and go and score. Pettersson to Miller, back to Pettersson. This way, that
The Canucks picked up a 5-2 win yesterday against the New York Islanders. It's the third straight win for the Canucks and the second in back-to-back days. Next stop on the Canucks road trip is a stop in Pittsburgh to face Sidney Crosby and the Pittsburgh Penguins. That is all of our news for right now from every single person here at CFTK-TV News. I'm Cale Maslin, and thank you for watching. We will see you next time.